and join with us, and join with Marco Rubio, and join with Jim DeMint in this effort to preserve the America we love. Jim, it's all yours.
Thank you. Am I supposed to sing along? Boy, I could use a man like that in the United States Senate. If you didn't love this country when you got here today, I know you love it now. I was standing backstage with tears, just reminding myself and being reminded by Marco of what we have here, what a treasure, and how so much is at stake this year to turn this thing around. But David, thank you. Thank you to the American Conservative Union for organizing this critical mass of conservative hope and change. After today, and after I see what is happening around the country, I'm really excited about the prospects for conservative Republicans. 3 years of a Democrat majority and just 1 year of President Obama have awakened Americans and led millions to become more passionate advocates for freedom. This has created a new wave of Republicans who are embracing the energy and passion of the American people. The Democrats' arrogance and audacious power grabs have made Americans stand up and say, enough is enough. We now see all too clearly that the hope and change the Democrats had in mind was nothing more than a retread of the failed and discredited socialist policies that have been the enemy of freedom for centuries all over the world. And now that the Democrats' goals are glaringly obvious, the battle is between the American people and the Democrats, and I like those odds. Americans have been stunned by the fact in the world's greatest bastion of freedom, our government now owns the largest auto companies, the largest mortgage company, and the largest insurance company. It controls our schools, and it's trying to take over our healthcare system. The federal government is assaulting almost every sector of our free market economy. At a time when I fear America is teetering towards tyranny, I was thrilled to hear that CPAC adopted the theme of saving freedom for this year's meeting. Now, saving freedom is something that I've been thinking a lot about. I published a book last year entitled it Saving Freedom. But because the danger, folks, the danger of losing freedom is no longer theoretical. It's very real. I wanted to remind people that our country has been the most prosperous nation in all of history, and exceptional in so many ways, because our economy, our culture, and our government were built on principles of freedom that were unique in the entire world. An understanding of American history will confirm that good government policy is always based on proven principles. And proven principles are derived from constructive values. And constructive values are founded on Judeo-Christian convictions. If we remove the foundations for our principles and our policies, America will fall. Those principles were written into a contract with the American people that promised to limit the federal government's power. We call that contract the Constitution. And when it was signed, it didn't even allow a federal income tax. And that sounds like a good way to limit the size of the federal government to me. Every congressman, every senator, president, Supreme Court justice takes an oath to protect and defend that Constitution. And I think it's time they started honoring that oath. The principles of freedom require limited government and a vibrant private sector. Freedom cannot exist without free markets, individual freedom, and personal responsibility. Real freedom includes the right to succeed, to build a large business, and to make lots of money. It also includes the freedom for mismanaged and insolvent institutions to fail. Despite the clarion call for freedom from the American people, there is still a struggle within the Republican Party about who we are and what we stand for. It's really a fight between those who take their constitutional oath seriously and those who don't. We all swear an oath to protect and defend a Constitution that specifies a very limited federal government. It's hard for me to believe that congressmen and senators who continue their addiction to parochial earmarks and their support for almost every new spending program have read the same Constitution I have. That's why I, along with several other Republicans, introduced a budget reform proposal just a few weeks ago. This proposal would put a one-year moratorium on earmarks and require Congress to balance the federal budget. We've got to do it. Folks, all Republicans should support these two common sense bills. There are currently 12 Republican senators who have co-sponsored this budget reform proposal and no Democrats. My website, senateconservatives.com, lists the names and phone numbers of those who have and haven't signed on as co-sponsors. Please do me a favor and use those phone numbers to encourage senators who are not co-sponsoring to join us with this proposal. Think about it. With our country drowning in debt, if we can't give up pork for 1 year and won't even try to balance the budget now, there's no reason to think that we'll ever do it tomorrow. We can't continue to trust budgets that, like the president's just proposed, that call for more spending, more borrowing, more debt today, with vague promises to cut spending sometime in the future. We should all take caution from the biblical admonition from Proverbs, the borrower is slave to the lender. It's a truth that becomes more apparent for our country every day. We're piling up trillions of dollars of debt for our children that they have to pay back. Well, I refuse to commit my children and grandchildren to a lifetime of debt slavery because people in Washington are too willing to trade freedom for earmarks and kickbacks. Thank you. Now, as some of you know, I've been criticized by some of my Republican colleagues for saying I'd rather have 30 Republicans in the Senate who believe in the principles of freedom than 60 who don't believe in anything. Now, let me make myself even clearer. I would rather have 30 Marco Rubios in the Senate than 60 Arlen Specters. But of course, if we had 30 Marco Rubios, we wouldn't have to settle for just 30. Because strong conservatives who believe in a constitutional limited government, like Marco Rubio, will pave the way to a new Republican majority that will keep our promises to the American people. The best way to re-earn the trust of the American people and to reclaim a Republican majority is to find and support candidates who believe in the principles of freedom.